Congratulations are in order for Crystal Palace as they made history by winning their first ever major trophy, beating City 1-0 in the FA Cup final. I think the whole of England was behind them last Saturday, but now they face even bigger challenges, as top teams will be sniffing around their best players, and if they get their recruitment wrong, it's game over for them, especially since for the first time ever next year they'll be playing European football. So whilst Glasner has done an incredible job, I'm going to take it from here, and I've got 3 goals for Crystal Palace. The first is to continue to develop Palace into a real threat both in England and in Europe. The second is to get them competing with England's strongest teams, and the third is to win them the Champions League. And so here I am being announced as Palace's brand new manager, and as I meet the team, I'm pretty happy with who we've got, as this is indeed the squad I've inherited from Glasner in my first year. And honestly, I think this team's pretty underrated, with players like Adam Wharton, Maxence Lacroix, Daniel Munoz, Iberiche Eze, Mark Gahey, and of course Dean Henderson. Not to mention their youngsters like Romain Essie, like David Azo, Matthias França, and of course Jesseron Raksaki. And on top of that, as you can see guys, majority of their best players aren't even close to even hitting 30 yet. Everything about Crystal Palace right now is looking up. And the best thing is, because they've just won the FA Cup, for the first time in this club's history, they're going to be playing European football. So it's my job right now to get them as prepared as possible for that. Now I've just settled into my brand new office and the boss has just come in to welcome me to the club. Welcome to Crystal Palace, Goodwin. You've joined at a great time because, as you know, we won our first ever FA Cup and are playing European football for the first time ever. I know, boss, myself and the rest of England, quite frankly, were happy that you won the FA Cup. I for one can't wait to have a magic run in Europe this year as well. I have to ask though, what's the situation with players leaving and players staying? Well, I've spoken to all the players in question and the only one who's potentially leaving is Mark Gahey, but under no circumstances is he leaving unless a serious offer comes in. Whether or not that happens though is a different story entirely, but you will have 85 mil regardless to spend on the team this year, and with this money we want you to make us competitive in Europe, and also let's see if we can't get back in Europe next year as well. Well, okay, it's a tall task to complete, but I reckon we stand a good chance of doing that, because like the boss said, we've got 88.3 million to spend, and guys, with Crystal Palace that will go a hell of a long way. But we do have to bear in mind that Mark Gahey, our captain, may potentially leave us this season. Like the boss said though, only if a very serious offer comes in for him. So with his market value being 25 million with 4 years left on his contract, I'm accepting nothing less than 45 million. But that does bring us to something else, doesn't it? Who are we going to bring in? Well, I wouldn't mind improving our defence a little bit, maybe bolstering the strength of our midfield, improving our attack, especially the midfield though, because as you can see, our former left winger Tyrant Mitchell has joined Spurs on a free because his contract expired, which is actually real weird because this happened to Charlie Sports as well. Moving on from that though guys, as you can see, I have compiled a shortlist of all the potential players we can bring into the team this year, and yes, these are all the players that Crystal Palace are linked with in real life. I've done my due research, actually everybody apart from Mohamed Daramy, but I feel like he'd be a good fit at Crystal Palace anyway. The rest of these guys though, I'm almost positive they've had strong links with Palace in real life, so now it's a question of who we're going to sign that's actually going to improve the team the most. But like I've already said, the one thing I want to do is improve our midfield, so I've done just that by signing Ben Doak for 4 million on the dot. At only 19, he's already got some fantastic stats and he's got the potential to become an unbelievable player. Now it's time to decide out of these 4 players who to bring in for that midfield role. And me personally, I'm torn between 2 players. The first one is Joe Bellingham, who Palace have been heavily linked with for quite a while, and the other one is Aster Vrant, the Belgian centre mid who's a little older from Wolfsburg. Both players are incredibly tempting, but Joe Bellingham's going on the thumbnail, so I think I'm going to go for him for now. But if anything happens to Wharton, I'm definitely coming back for Aster Vrant. For now though, Joe Bellingham is the man, and for 13.5 million he's signed for us on a 5-year deal. And I think that's a pretty good deal, especially when I've seen online that he could be going to Palace for 30 odd million. And guys, because we've improved our midfield a bunch, I'm really liking this team so far. There are though a couple more players I want to sign. The first one being Coney de Winter, because if Mark Gahey does eventually leave us, we've got the perfect replacement in him. And finally, Emmanuel Omega is joining the Eagles for 22 million, because I have a slight suspicion Matata won't be around for long as well. And guys, looking at the players we brought in this transfer window, though, it's safe to say I am damn happy with the business we've conducted. This does not mean I'm taking my eye off any one of these players though, because later down the line I might be picking one or two of them up. As it stands though, I believe right now this is our strongest possible team that we can field. And no, I'm not messing with the tactics or formation, it's just won them their first ever FA Cup, so I think it's okay for now. Here we are though guys, it is the dawn of a new season for Crystal Palace, and this time it begins with a chance of early silverware as we face off against Liverpool to win the FA Community Shield. We however had the nightmare start as Lacroix took Szoboszlai down in the penalty area. Salah then stepped up and tucked it home. We were down, but we weren't yet out as Eze 23 minutes into the game got us back in it. And just before our time we had a golden opportunity to go ahead, but somehow Mateta missed this. I still don't know how he didn't score that. In the second half though, Liverpool came close to going ahead themselves as well. With less than 20 minutes to go though, that man Eberiche Eze put us 2-1 up. In the dying seconds of the game though, former Liverpool lad Bendo got us the third. And that lands Crystal Palace yet another piece of silverware for their cabinet. Which I'll be real, in my first game for Crystal Palace, not bad at all. We however now turn our attention to the Premier League, where our first game of the campaign this time is against none other than the Gunners. And a strong start here would be amazing because remember, whilst we're in Europe this year, we want to be there next year as well. Straight away though, we were on the back foot and Arsenal very nearly went 1-0 up here. 21 minutes into the game though, there was no stopping this as Arsenal did indeed take the lead. 10 minutes later though, we attempted to fire back as Mateta and Munoz had a great chance here. Early in the second half though, we struck back with a gorgeous counter-attack. Mateta put us one apiece. Then from absolutely nothing, Teethy put Arsenal back in the lead. All that effort for bloody nothing. We weren't done yet though, as Bellingham very nearly got us back in the game here. Unfortunately though, Arsenal went straight up our end and got a third for themselves, getting all 3 points. But I can only take positives from this, because if we can push Arsenal to the brink like that, imagine what we can do in Europe. Speaking of though, it was now time for the Eagles' first ever match in Europe, and it was against none other than Borussia Mönchengladbach. And we almost had the perfect start, but somehow this shot hit not one post but 2. Honestly, how do you get so unlucky? Up the other end though, they weren't unlucky as their shot went straight into the back of the net. And as you can see, it wasn't the fact that we weren't having chances, we just couldn't put them away. But when Gladbach had their chances, they were clinical. In the 45th minute though, they killed the game dead as they got a third before half time. It's definitely not the start we were after in the Europa League, but from here things can only get better. But only if you leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and smash that subscribe button if you're new. And guys, I was right as we got a pretty impressive 3-2 win over Apiol FC. We then went on to tear Leicester City apart with an Omega hat-trick. We did however drop points to Rangers in the Europa, and we only managed a 1-1 draw against Forest as well. And that leaves us 10th in the Premier League halfway through the season, but only 25th in the Europa League. So whilst we're doing okay in the Prem, we've got some serious work to do to get ourselves into the next stage of the Europa. With that being said though, the boss has just invited himself into my office for a chat and he looks quite concerned. Goodwin, you need to step it up over the next 6 months. Some of our key players are attracting serious interest from big teams and we can hold them off for now, but if we don't get European football next year, we're gonna lose them. So I know originally we only said top 10 football with a chance of European football, but we need to do better than that now. So switch the system up to something more secure at the back, because that's our weakness from what I've seen, and use the funds you've got left in the budget to further strengthen the team. Well guys, it looks like the pressure is officially on. I do get what he means though, because as you can see from our stats going forward, we are killing it, but this back three unfortunately is just conceding way too many. So I'm not going to be stubborn, I'm going to switch the system. So that's exactly what I've done. We're using the 4-4-1-1 with the exact same tactics as last time. But because now we've got extra support at the back, I feel like the tactics we were using initially will work better now. We'll now though need a new fullback, because not only is Jeffrey Schlupp the best one we've got, he's also retiring at the end of this season. So with that being said, I have just signed Luton Town's Alfie Doughty for 16.5 million. And as you can see guys, he fits the bill. He's far too good to be playing in League One. And he is now part of our strongest starting 11, which is right in front of you as you can see. And guys, I think what we've done might just clinch trust European football for next year. We however need to focus on the Europa League right now, as our next game is against Molde FK. And remember, we aren't looking good in the Europa League, so we need to win our last 2 league games. It was a great start for us though, as Saar burst through their defence and made it 1-0 to us. Then just before half time with some gorgeous football from Palace, we made it 2-0. Then we killed the game dead in the second half with a Raksaki brace. 1 game down, 1 to go. However, against FC20, it wasn't that easy, as they went 1-0 up inside of 25 minutes. And then they took a 2-goal lead directly after. If we aren't careful, we're going to be out of the Europa. Early in the second half though, we got back in the game as Omega burst through their defence to get us 1 back. But that was all she wrote, and FC20 beat us 2-1. So the lingering question is, had we done enough to make the playoffs, or were we out of the Europa? We are officially through to the next round as we face Victoria Pleasant in the playoffs. We aren't the favourites to win this competition, but that doesn't mean we can't have a good crack at it. And it was almost the dream start as we scored here, but it was bloody offside. Shortly after though, we got our lucky break as Eze was taken out here and it resulted in a red card. And after so many chances were squandered in the first half, we got ahead early in the second. Then with 15 minutes to go, we got our second. And then we got the third to basically book our place into the round of 16. Which is all well and good, but now we have to focus on the Prem. Because right now we're 13th in the Prem, a solid 15 points behind 7th place Spurs. And there's a slim chance we win the Europa, so we have to pick it up here. But for some reason it just wasn't clicking in the Prem as we lost to Burnley 2-1. We did though bounce back with a win over Leeds United. And we dropped all 3 points against Bournemouth. Which with 10 games to go means we're 13 points behind 7th place Newcastle. It's getting increasingly more likely that to get European football next year, we're going to be more reliant on the Europa League than the Prem. Luckily, after smashing Victoria Pleasant, we are indeed through to the round of 16 where we're facing off against Frankfurt. Going into this second leg, we were already up 2-1 on aggregate, but when Omega scored this, it really lifted the weight off our shoulders. Almost directly after though, Frankfurt got 1 back. And directly after that, Ben Doak very nearly got 1 himself. Thankfully, after that though, Omega had a chance, and unlike Ben Doak, he didn't miss. It wasn't even half time though before we booked our place in the next round as Adam Wharton pounced on a rebound and sent us through to the quarters. And that, ladies and gents, is where we'll be facing off against Belgian giants Anderlecht. Unlike Frankfurt though, we had no advantage in this second leg, which is why Omega scored here. It was a fantastic feeling. Almost straight away though, Anderlecht fired back with the most lucky goal I've ever seen. Seriously man, that was BS. Literally straight after that though, Omega put us 2-1 in front. Just before half time though, Dolberg made it equal again. We need a good second half here. And it could not have started any better as Omega here got his hat-trick. Then with half hour to go, Raksaki scored this gorgeous little goal here. And he almost scored the exact same goal just 10 minutes later to put us through to the next round. But guys, the pressure on us was higher than ever. Because in the final stretch of the Premier League, we are 11th with no hope of qualifying for Europe this way. So if we're to do it, it is by winning the Europa League. And we frankly needed a miracle as we were against Juve in the semi-finals, and in the second leg we are 4-0 down on aggregate. There was still a glimmer of hope though, as within 15 minutes we got a goal back. And Hendo so far guys was on fire. So maybe we can do the impossible. But then disaster struck as Juve got a penalty for this, and Juve made it 5-1 on aggregate. Just shy of half time though, Omega got his second of the game. And then directly after, Eberiche Eze got one himself. So guys, maybe there's a chance. 10 minutes into the second half though, Juve fired back. And despite our best efforts, Juve made it 3-all on the night, 7-3 overall. They had knocked us out of the Europa League. And guys, our season is over. Because as well as not winning the Europa League, we finished 12th in the Premier League as well. And that obviously means no European football next year. Which is also going to lead us to losing 1 or 2 of our key players next year, man, which is absolutely gutting. I just hope it's not one of the players who put numbers up like Omega, for example, like Eze, for example, like Raksaki, like Ismail Yassar. Because without those 4 players this year, we'd have been screwed. It really is a shame, guys, because I feel like if we could could keep all these players together and then just add additional quality to it, we could make a serious push next year for European football again. Well guys, the new season's here and so is the boss, who looks pretty worried but optimistic at the same time. Don't worry, I haven't come here to berate you. If anything, I'm here to say well done to you. You did well in the Premier League, all things considered, and gave us a quality run in Europe. But here's the thing, we're going to lose some of our key players now because we haven't got Europe again this year. Gehi, Mateta and Eze have all put their transfer request in and want to leave because of how much interest there is from bigger clubs. The good news is though, the team's already established and we can use the money we get from all three of those players to rebuild this squad and proper push for Europe again. Well, I'm glad he's optimistic guys, but the bad news is we've got to sell 3 of our best players and we've not got a choice about it. And just like that, ladies and gents, all 3 of those players are sold on to other clubs. And this is gut-wrenching, but Palace in the past have lost plenty of key players and they've always come back stronger. And considering we've got just under 190 million to spend, you better believe we're going to come back stronger this time as well. The problem is though, we don't have European football this year, so we haven't exactly got the clout we had this time last year, but there's only one player I actually want to bring in, and that is Matheus Cunha to replace Eberiche Eze in that attacking midfielder role. He's pretty damn skillful with a good weak foot, got great dribbling, got a good eye for goal, and he's pacey. Now you might be wondering why I don't want to spend any more money. It's because frankly right now I don't believe we need to. We have Omega as Mateta's permanent replacement, and we've got Coney de Winter to replace Mark Gehi. So I'm going to save the rest of the money we've got till January, where if we need to spend it we will. For now though, I am beyond content with how we've got our team looking right now. And without any European football to distract us this year, I'm feeling confident we can definitely push for European football again for season 3. And here we go guys, the brand new campaign dawns upon us as we face none other than the Gunners to kick the Premier League season off. It was a nightmare start though, with some silly play at the back led to Saka putting Arsenal 1-0 up. Our star man up top though wasted no time in making it 1 apiece. Then we actually took the lead with the most bizarre goal I've ever scored. Then at the half hour mark, Matheus Cunha got his debut goal for the Eagles. Guys, I'm not being funny, we're killing the Gunners. Before half time though, we did take our foot off the gas and let Arsenal back in the game. Early in the second half, we almost killed the game off here, but Raya pulled off a great save. And we paid the price for his miss as Saka made it 3 apiece. In the dying stages of the game though, our star man once again got a goal for us to give us all 3 points against the Gunners. And I'm not being funny, that is a huge win even at the start of the campaign. I feel like this year we're on to something special. We however were nowhere near perfect as Brentford taught us a lesson in football within half an hour. We then beat Leicester City with the one and only goal coming from an absolute gorgeous goal from Omega. We then completely tore Nottingham Forest apart. We then beat Matheus Cunha's former club Wolves 2-0. We even got a cracking result against United. And this has led us to being 4th in the Premier League halfway through the campaign. It's insane that we lose our 3 best players, yet we're levels above where we were last year. I mean, the stats realistically speak for themselves, guys, especially Omega, man, he's killing it. And on top of that, everybody's happy, everybody's improving. Life right now at Crystal Palace is fantastic. Now, the boss has just called a meeting with me to discuss the rest of the season and what he and the board wants me to do. I thought you were nuts only signing 1 player, but it looks like there's a method to your madness after all. At this point, myself and the board aren't forced about Champions League football, although if you did achieve that, it would be unbelievable. We just want you to get us European football again, and right now, you're well on your way to doing that. But whatever you do, don't get in your own way. Your tactics, your formation, and your players are working. You just need to do this for another 6 months and Crystal Palace are back playing European football. Well, at least they don't expect Champions League football. He is right though, ladies and gents, what we've done with this team, the formation and the tactics, it's all working a damn treat. And yes, we do have a stupid amount of money to spend on this team, but I don't want to spend it, guys. I don't want to tempt fate and change a winning formula. I have to be honest though, I do fancy another FA Cup run as we face Colchester United in round 3. It however wasn't the start we were after, as Colchester got a penalty from this. Their player stepped up and not only missed the penalty but missed the rebound. Dean Henderson pulled off a cracking double save, and that's exactly why I've not replaced him. Not long after that though, Colchester pulled a massive upset and actually got a goal against us. Their celebrations however were short-lived, as right after Bendo got the equaliser. Then just before half time, Omega smashed this in the back of the net. Then early in the second half, Colchester got another penalty for this, and yet again he bloody missed it. Honestly, Endo man, you're a cracking keeper. That save as well allowed us to go straight up the other end and bag our third to kill the game dead. I'll say this though, Colchester, fair play, you made that way more difficult than I thought it'd be. It seemed like teams now were stepping their game up as we only managed a 3-2 win over Brighton. We did, however, then get a comfortable 2-0 win over Luton Town, but then we had a horror show against West Bromwich Albion as they knocked us out of the FA Cup. To be fair though, we were down to 10 men. At this point though, with only 5 games left, we're 2 points outside of the top 6. As it stands, we've got Conference League football already, but I want to go back into the Europa or maybe even the UCL, which is why results in our last 5 games of the season was so important, but we dropped the ball here against the Bees. We thankfully bounced back straight after though with a 3-2 win over the Foxes, and we got all 3 very important points against Wolves, and that leaves us 6th in the Premier League, 1 point above Tottenham Hotspur with 1 game to go. So here we go, the very last game of the season that will decide whether or not we will officially be back in Europe again, or whether we'll be fighting for that again next year. And of course we're playing against Chelsea, why would it be easy? For the first half an hour of this game, it was a stalemate until Omega had a golden opportunity here to put us 1-0 up but missed. And Nicholas Jackson just before half time almost made it 1-0 to Chelsea. It was 0-0 going into the second half, and a draw might clinch us European football, but I don't want to take that chance. But Jackson wasn't willing to give us one as he made sure this time he got the goal. Thankfully though, straight up the other end, Omega woke up and got us an equaliser. Then with just 17 minutes to go, Adam Wharton pulled this out of his locker. Like seriously, where the hell did that come from? And that was all she wrote. We got the final 3 points of the season, which officially means next year we'll be back in Europe with Crystal Palace, and back in the Europa League no less, where we have got some unfinished business. End of the season stats are actually fantastic. 27-7 for Omega, 17-7 for Bendo, 16-16 for Matthias Cunha. What a replacement he's been for Eze, by the way. What did I tell you guys? We'd bounce back better than ever after losing our best 3 players, and it's exactly what we've done. Now it's just a question of how these boys are going to handle the Europa League once again, especially when we'll probably have our highest budget yet. And here we are, arriving into our 3rd year with the Eagles, and it's time for another chat with the boss. Well, we did it. Not only are we back in Europe, we got our highest league finish in over a decade. And because last year you hardly spent a dime, you've got 180 million to spend this year. We, however, would like you to take full advantage of the money this time, as it could be the difference between winning the Europa League and losing it. And true to his word, we've got just over 180 million to spend. And I kind of see his point, guys, because if we properly spend it on this team, we could book our place in the UCL next year by winning the Europa. However, it's alright spending money on this team. We need to make sure we're spending it in the right places. So for starters, we need a backup for Dean Henderson, because the only one we've got right now is a 23-year-old 71 rated keeper called Joel Whitworth. We might need somebody better than Alfie Doughty at that left back role, and I think it's time to get someone better in that left midfielder role, whereas Molly Assar plays. Which does suck, but you heard the boss, guys. He wants us to take full advantage of all the money we've got to spend. For starters though, I'm after a backup keeper for Dean Henderson, and I found him in Noah Etobalu from Freiburg for 16 million. 35 million was then spent replacing Alfie Doughty with Nathaniel Brown. And finally, to replace Ismail Assar, 56.5 million was spent on Palmas's Alberto Meliro. And this guy's a pretty special player. He's only 23, he's absolutely rappy with fantastic dribbling, good passing and decent shooting as well. And with him still being so young, he's got so much more time to improve. And this ironically still leaves us just under 60 million to spend. So if in January we do need reinforcements, we've got the money to bring them in. As it stands though, going into season 3, this is our strongest team by a country mile. And off first glances, I don't see why we can't go all the way in the Europa League when the last time we were in that competition we were much weaker and we made the semis. I'm also curious though to see if we can do better in the Premier League, as well as our first game of the new campaign is against the Toffees. This game though was a complete and utter stalemate until the dying seconds of the first half, where Beto got one for Everton. That appeared to wake us up though, as early in the second half Omega got his first of the season. And then Meliro shortly after got his very first goal for the Eagles. Aside from that though, nothing happened and we got all 3 points in a pretty boring game. Still, it's a pretty decent start to the Premier League campaign, but can we have a decent start in the Europa League campaign? Well, it's time to find out, as our first game in the Europa League campaign this time is against HJK Helsinki. And I was hoping for a much stronger start than the last time, time, but we just didn't get it as they took the lead within 5 minutes. However, the difference between then and now, we are a far superior team, and within 3 minutes we equalled the scoreline. Then 20 minutes later with some gorgeous football, we tore their defence apart. Then just 6 minutes later with some gorgeous link up between Malero and Omega, we made it 3-1. And then with 10 minutes to go, we killed the game dead with yet another Omega goal. So far guys, so good. We just need to keep this going throughout the entire season now. And guys, as we progress further into the season, that's exactly what we were doing as we smashed Parrot 3-0. We then got a very solid 2-0 win over FC Copenhagen. It wasn't just the Europa League we were smashing, it was the Premier League as well, as we beat the Bottle Jobs 2-0, and we absolutely dog-walked Arsenal. And that actually leaves us top of the league halfway through the campaign, and we are cruising to the round of 16 in the Europa League. Guys, part of me feels like we shouldn't be in this competition, we should already be in the Champions League. And I have a feeling that the boss agrees, as he's called a meeting at the beginning of January. As you know, Goodwin, our original goal was to try and win the Europa League and maybe squeeze a top 4 finish for UCL football. But given where we are right now, I think our goal has become crystal clear. We have to qualify for the Champions League, whether that be via the Europa League or getting a top 4 finish. If we don't get UCL football next year, with how good our team is right now, it'd be a travesty. So Goodwin, it's all on you now over the next 6 months to make that happen. I can't lie guys, I'm in total agreement with the boss, because up until this point in the Europa League, every team we've faced so far, we've smashed them. And when you take a quick peek at some of the teams that are in the playoff area of the Champions League, I am confidently saying this, we could smash a lot of them. The thing is though guys, I'm not changing a damn thing about this team. Right now we're top of the Premier League, top of the Europa League phase, there's nothing to change. We don't even need a better bench guys, because we've got some serious quality here too. There's only 2 things we need from now until the end of the campaign. One is consistency and the other is nerve. And we needed that right now as we were going against Anderlecht in the round of 16. We were already 2-1 up in this second leg, but we needed a strong start, and it's exactly what we got right here. Omega then helped us to double our advantage after 25 minutes. Just 7 minutes later though, Bendo scored the 3rd of the game to kill it off and send us through to the next round. I'll be honest with you lot, I think we should focus on the Europa, because winning the Europa League is more likely than getting a top 4 finish in the Prem. And so we put our focus on the Europa League, where in the quarterfinals we faced off against Sporting. And we already had a 1-goal advantage in the second leg, but we could not take that for granted. Especially since Sporting were really giving us a run for our money, but Malero in the 36th minute put us 2-0 up on aggregate. Then just before half time, Malero yet again doubled our advantage. Sporting though weren't giving up, as just shy of the hour mark they very nearly got one back. And with 4 minutes to go, they did actually get one back. In the dying seconds of the game though, Cunha broke through, put us 3-1 up and sent us through to the semis. Guys, we're now this close to the final. But before we get there, we have one final obstacle in our way in Fiorentina in the semi-finals, where in the second leg it is 1 apiece. And back in season 1, when we did reach the semis of the Europa, it was indeed an Italian side that knocked us out as well. We weren't about to let that happen again though, as early on we very nearly took the lead here if Omega used his foot instead of his head. Which ironically enough, if he'd used his head, he'd used his foot. 10 minutes later though, we had another great chance, but we once again squandered it. Thankfully though, on the 20-minute mark, the big man made his impact by pouring us 1-0 up against Fiorentina. Then just 10 minutes later, with some gorgeous footwork from Malero, he made it 2-0. And I've just a second realised they're down to 10 men. What the hell did that happen? This didn't stop us though. If anything, it spurred us on as we went 3-0 up before half time. Bendo wasn't happy with that though, as this absolute insane effort from distance made it 4-0 on the night to kill the game before it even reached the second half. Guys, we'd made the final. We were now 1 game from not only qualifying from the Champions League, but finally making Palace European champions. Up until the 21st minute, it was a complete stalemate until Alberto Malero had a moment of brilliance and put us 1-0 up. Sociedad though didn't come all this way to back down without a fight, as they got one back after half an hour. With 15 minutes to go though, we might have sent them home crying, as Cunha got us back in the lead here. And if Cunha didn't, Joe Bellingham certainly did. After a gorgeous bit of football, he scored the 3rd of the game. And that of course means we've beaten Sociedad in the final to win the Europa League. We've not only qualified for the Champions League but made Palace European champions. But now I am kind of curious, we've neglected the Premier League, so how have we actually done in it? Well, I'll be damned, they've only gone and won the Premier League as well. So not only are we one of the strongest teams in Europe, we're the best team in England. Having said that though, looking at how strong our team is, I'm actually not all that surprised. Especially with how many goals and assists this year, man. Look at Omega, Malero, Bendo, Cunha, they've all got double digits when it comes to goals and assists. But guys, considering we've just won the Europa League, our next goal has to be the Champions League, where PSG beat Atletico 3-1 to win. But we've all seen how good this Palace side is, we've all seen them tear teams apart this year, and given the fact we're the Premier League champions and Europa League champions, I don't see why next year we can't become the Champions League winners. And here we are in our 4th year with the Eagles, and having won almost everything with them now, I've got a feeling I know exactly what the boss is about to say. Goodwin, we're not only European champions now, but Premier League champions too, something I think Palace fans never in a million years thought they'd see. But now it's time to take it one step further. You've got over 170 million to spend this year. You've not let us down yet, but this is easily our biggest and hardest ask of you yet. This season, we want to become the best team in the world, so make that happen and win us the Champions League. Well guys, there's certainly no pressure on me this year, is there? And yes, this year we have over 170 million to spend, true to his word. But guys, not a single penny is getting invested in their starting 11. These lot won the Prem in Europa League last year. I'd be daft to meddle with it. Instead, I'm going to bring a little bit more experience and more quality to this bench. Because the Champions League is a level above anything we've faced so far with Palace. We need as much quality and experience as we can possibly get. So for starters, I brought in 81 rated Udinese striker Mathis Ablin to be a backup for Omega. A further 20 million was then spent on Asta Frank, an original transfer target from season 1 who's now an 81 rated player. And finally, a further 20 million was spent on Voldemir Anton from Dortmund, an 82 rated centre back with a ton of UCL football experience. And guys, I think that's enough for now, because as you can see from our bench, we are now pretty much stacked in every single position. And with our starting 11 being as good as it is already, I have strong hopes that we can go all the way in the UCL in our very first time in it. And guys, truth be told, we couldn't ask for a better test to see how we'd handle the Champions League as we face off against last year's Champions League winners, PSG, in the Super Cup. And if we do beat PSG now, guys, that puts us in a phenomenal position. And truth be told, PSG almost took an early lead, if not for a great goal line clearance here. But we caught PSG well off guard right here as Omega burst through and put us 1-0 up. And shortly after, Matheus Cunha very nearly made it 2-0. Not gonna lie, guys, we are smashing the current Champions League winners. Maybe though we were getting ahead of ourselves, because with 5 minutes left to go in the first half, they did get one back. Early in the second half though, we regained our advantage thanks to Starman Omega once again. Seriously, what would we do without him? And to make it better, with 25 minutes to go, he got his hat-trick against PSG. And he very nearly got his fourth 5 minutes later. With 10 minutes to go, PSG got one back, but to their annoyance, it was ruled offside. Shortly after though, they made sure they got one back, as there was no disputing this. There, however, was no disputing this either, as straight after conceding, we got our 2-goal cushion again. And that was indeed enough for us to beat PSG to win this Super Cup. And obviously beating PSG in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean too much, but what it has done is sent a message. And that's that we're not here to take part, we are here to win this damn thing, and Napoli learned that the hard way. We, however, very nearly came unstuck against RB Salzburg, as they've given us our toughest game of the season so far. Afterwards though, we had no problem dealing with Dynamo Kiev. But then we did drop 2 points against Stuttgart. Regardless of that result against Stuttgart though, we are still second in the league phase after 6 games. So honestly, I don't think it matters too much. The only thing that matters to this team for the rest of the year are those 2 things I mentioned this time last season: consistency and keeping their nerve. And it was more important than ever for the Eagles to do those 2 things as we faced Leverkusen in the round of 16. It was 2-2 on aggregate going into the second leg of this game, but thankfully it went 3-2 to us as Omega put this away early on. And it was very nearly 2-0 before the 15-minute mark, but Malero's shot was saved by their keeper. And then with 7 minutes left of the first half, Anton almost put this this away as well. It was alright having these chances, but we needed to put them away. Thankfully though, with half an hour to go in this game, we got our second courtesy of Bendo. The game wasn't over just yet though, as with 10 minutes to go, Boniface got one back. Just 2 minutes later though, we put the game to bed as Alberto Milero got the third of the night. And that's a lesson learned. We need to take our chances when we get them. And we'll absolutely have to put those words into action in our next game as we face off against Borussia Dortmund in the quarters. A team that you could argue fell off this year, however, they definitely weren't backing down from us as they forced not one save from Hendo early on, but 2 saves. One thing Dortmund learned about us though, we are lethal on the break as Omega proved that by putting us 1-0 up. But after the half-hour mark, Dortmund got unbelievably lucky here and made it 1-1. Just 3 minutes later though, we caught them sleeping at the back and took full advantage of it. To be fair though, early in the second half, they made it 2-2 again. Guys, I don't get it. Why are we making this difficult for ourselves? Yet again though, from kick-off, we caught them lacking and got back in front, but this time I want to stay in front. And finally, it looked like we had a hold on the game as with 25 minutes to go, we took a 4-2 advantage. Then literally 5 minutes later, in the exact same way, we got a 5-2 advantage to send us through to the semis. And this is where we'll face possibly our toughest test yet in the UCL, Manchester City. But we were already up 2-0 in the second leg, so surely this wouldn't be that difficult, right? Well, it was an horrendous start as somehow this was deemed to be a handball and Haaland slotted the penalty away. Then not long after, Manchester City made it 2-2 on aggregate and they were right back in this. Seriously, how did we mess that up so quickly? Fortunately though, 15 minutes later the ball landed to Omega in the penalty box and he bagged it away. Then of course, with 25 minutes to go, City got one back themselves. One thing we're good at though is catching teams off guard, and that's exactly what we did to City here to get back in front. And then, with less than 10 minutes to go, the ball fell to Bellingham and then it fell to the back of the net to send us through to the final. And that's where we'll face off against Bayern for a chance to become the best team in the world. And speaking of, look at that team, ladies and gents. There's certain weaknesses we can exploit, but for the most part, it's a very good team. Overall though, on paper, guys, I don't even think it's close to ours, man. We are literally levels above them in every way. I mean, just look at our stats, man. Our front four especially know exactly how to score a goal or two. Here we go though, guys, the moment we've been waiting for since day one at Palace, a chance to become the best in the world. All we got to do to become that is beat Bayern Munich right now. For the first 20 minutes, it was a total stalemate until Omega burst through the backline of Bayern Munich and put us 1-0 up. Hendo was then tested shortly after with a great shot here from Kane. However, from that chance, the ball landed to Goretzka and he took care of the rest. Can't even be mad at that, that was a cracking goal. Before half time though, we had a chance to take the lead again, but Omega's shot went wayward. His next chance though would find its way into the back of the net, which means we had the 2-1 advantage and all the momentum going into the second half. It's just a shame Joe Bellingham couldn't take advantage of it here. However, Bellingham didn't need to, as in the dying seconds of the game, Omega made it 3-1 to Crystal Palace to kill the game dead. And that was indeed enough to beat Bayern 3-1 on the night to crown ourselves the best team in the world. And that means my job with the Eagles is done. If you have enjoyed this video and want to see more content just like it in the future, drop this video a big old thumbs up and smash that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see another video from me right here, I reckon you should watch me do this with Liverpool.